NFL draft decisions to be made, transfer portal, a bowl game to be played in about 3 weeks. But Cam says 2 weeks to National Signing Day. So that's where we start. Hurricanes live right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you all stopping by. Cam Underwood's here to answer your comments and questions. Join him on State of the U each and every day. And here we go. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. Glad to be here for Miami Hurricanes Live. Not the show that was prepped on the screen when we were about to go live, but it was Texas. You got Texas behind you. I thought, whoa, I thought you actually moved that.
Oh, I thought I did too. I think I grabbed it and just
put it right back. Yeah, just look back. I was looking at a text from my mother, so I didn't see it. But yeah, man, good to be here. And everything with you guys. Got a couple weeks till signing day, like to the day, actually. So, as per usual, got some writing to do, but I've already started prepping a lot of those pieces and everything. And there will be extra ones that I will have to whip up on signing day or in the run up to, because, flip season / changing the commit list / all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. But, Miami is chasing a top 5 class, stands at 5 right now. Obviously, there'll be further movement in probably both directions, with additions and subtractions from the class. And we'll see where we go.
So again, with a bowl game that was announced on Sunday against those Scarlet Knights of Rutgers to reconvene a series from Big East days, and with NFL draft decisions either made or to be announced possibly, and with the transfer portal humming along with all sorts of additions by the minute, by the hour, and of course, I'm sure players and or positional units that you would like to see pursued. You're still National Signing Day.
Yeah, man. I mean, because that's just my thing, man. We can talk about Cyrus Moss from Las Vegas Bishop Gorman entering into the portal. Maybe a couple hours ago today, 6'5", 220-pound out, edge rusher guy, really struggled to put weight on, and that inhibited his playing time here at Miami. And I know you're like, well, Cam, we have Jason Taylor, who, was infamous for his lithe body. And I mean, he eventually added some weight, but like that was his struggle his entire playing career. Yeah, it was. But also Jason Taylor did not go to college at a University of Miami level program and had the time to grow and develop his body. And for Cyrus Moss to get on the field, I mean, like, that is absolutely number one, unless he wants to change positions and go to a 3-4 school and be a stand-up outside backer, kind of edge rusher hybrid kind of a thing in the 3-4. But even still, 220 is light, bro. That's really light. And some people have a hard time putting on weight. I know that you're going to think that this is crazy looking at my rotund face and everything right now, but I was, in my youth, one of those people as well. So I get it. I mean, obviously, clearly, things changed. But I get it, where it can be tough with certain, just body builds and things to add weight. And that was really Cyrus Moss's issue. And then he got recruited over. You got, ACC Defensive Freshman of the Year, Ruben Bain came in. You had Jaden Wayne in that same class with Ruben Bain as a true freshman this year, but he had 100 and something snaps on defense. You had other guys, Nigel Kelly in the same class signing on signing day. He was starting until, he hurt his leg and was out for the season. So it came to pass where like it never really came together for Cyrus Moss. Wish him well. Again, I harbor no ill will towards any player. Like, I don't know them personally, so I'm not going to sit here and call them, whatever on a personal basis. I wish him well. It's just going to end up being somewhere other than Miami. But, that now makes 8 players who have indicated their desire to move on elsewhere, or, we've told them, like, hey, maybe seeking shelter elsewhere would be great for you. And in terms of NFL draft, Cam Kinchins, James Williams, and now Leonard Taylor. All 3 have announced. Those are the 3 guys at the top of the class. 3 years ago, we talked about them. 2 5-stars and a 4-star. High school All-American, and Cam Kinchins was a 4-star. So those guys are moving on. from the roster towards the NFL. So yeah, there's still movement that's going on, and there'll be even more. Trust me.
Staying with what you just hit on, the latter point about the NFL draft decisions that have been announced.
Yeah.
Do you expect any others?
Kiko Mawanoa is 50-50. I really hope he comes back. He was really good, man. I mean, I know everybody was like, "Well, yeah, this you take the big little brother from Washington State to transfer down, so you get 5-star offensive linemen, true freshmen in the class." You're like, "Yeah, well, we'll take the other Mawanoa to get this one." It's just like, hold on, which one did we take to get which other one? Like, I mean, he was 51 was a monster on defense, man. So that's a guy that could potentially be out there looking towards the NFL draft. I mean, there are other draft eligible guys. I just don't really see it. Unless they're like out of eligibility. Like, if you exhausted your college eligibility, like, yeah. But like the other underclassmen, other than Williams, Kinchins, and Taylor, I would be pretty surprised if there was any other one. But yeah, though, I mean, even though he's like a senior and everything, I would say, yeah, Mawanoa is the one that I'm looking at as potential to potentially go if he saw fit.
That offensive line transformation is a microcosm of what can happen at a program, especially in this day and age with the transfer portal, that especially has the destination attractiveness of Miami and resources and everything else. Is that when is the last time we talked about Miami having a plus offensive line?
I mean, when we started this,
yes.
This run on these shows, when you and I met, I mean, we're talking, a decade ago or more. It's been a good long time. And also, because you mentioned that, the other one that comes to my mind now is Matt Lee, the center, being the other one with Francisco Mawanoa, who's like, that decision could go either way, and we'll see.
And I'm not dissecting this team every day like you and others do. I'm just watching them play the better opponents. And it was obvious to me. Like, I remember in particular them playing, it stood out even more, was more pronounced, knowing and understanding the talent on the other side of the ball when they were playing Texas A&M.
Yeah.
When they were playing North Carolina, even though that's technically, statistically not a good defense, but the type of athletes they have on that side of the ball, that they are protecting their quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, to that level. And it was pronounced, just as a guy who knows the team pretty well, but is not there day to day, just watching the games casually, in a sense, that they upgraded that significantly. And I understand some of that's a byproduct from bringing in a coach who's offensive line centric as well, and then also has that coaching acumen to aid what's going on in that with that unit.
No, absolutely. It was, just a massive upgrade. In terms of team, we talk about like lose big, lose small, win big, win small, win big is like kind of the progression there. Like, if you flip that into individual unit, like, you want to go from being abjectly terrible to just kind of bad to mediocre or whatever. Like, Miami skipped a couple steps on that rung with offensive line. Like, we went from, I want to say, probably like neutral bad to neutral good. I want to say like we skipped like 3 or 4 levels of performance with the offensive line this year. And yeah, it was so noticeable, and it was the intent, like upgrading the lines of scrimmage. The defensive line always had players and would, wreak havoc, get up the field, have tackles for lost sacks, but like on the offensive line side, it was, Swiss cheese and, wet tissue paper for years. So yeah, a really, really huge step forward this year. And credit to all 5 of those guys. You had Jalen Rivers at left tackle, Javion Cohen already going to the Senior Bowl in the NFL at left guard, Matt Lee Javion Cohen from Alabama transferred in, Matt Lee transferred from UCF, one of the best centers in the nation, played really well. True sophomore, Anas Cooper from Mount Pleasant, Alabama. So out of the shadow of Bryant-Denny Stadium, we got him out of peak SEC country, and then true freshman 5-star Francisco Mawanoa. Just a pure credit to that group. Even if you put in Matthew McCoy, who ended up being like the 6th offensive lineman as like your swing tackle, the guy who was wearing a tight end's number, but was like, you're like, whoa, he's 6'6", 310. Like that's not a tight end. It's like, yeah, but he doesn't have to check in as tackle eligible if he's wearing an 80 number, But even if you put him in there, and a couple other guys on the second string and whatnot, just a really, 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 really great job by that unit to move forward. It wasn't perfect. So again, guys, do not let perfect be the enemy of good. But like this line, to Mark's point, was light years better than, or further ahead, because light years, remember, are a measure of distance, not time, but light years ahead of where they were last year.
Falconer TRX, there you are. Good to see you as always, sir.
Throw it up.
Good to have you here. And Falconer TRX following up with this one.
Trip to New York on the 27th for Christmas, a good wife gift. I mean, look, you're going to get some great sales. They still have the tree up in Rockefeller Center, I believe, almost all the way till New Year's. I have a couple personal friends and a couple personal enemies as well, but that's a different story, who live up in New York City or that general area. You can do that, go explore all of those things, make your way up to the Bronx to see the game the next day and everything. Yeah, I mean, look, that could be it. Two things can be true. It could be a great gift, and also just like, well, babe, we're here in Manhattan. The Canes are playing like a couple, it's a bus ride and 2 train transfers away. Why don't we go do that? It could be that as well. So I will not be going personally. But I wish you guys safe travels who will. But yeah, that could be something that would be enjoyable. And from what I saw from people who had gone to games or to that bowl game in Yankee Stadium before previously, the best seats that you would think for a football game are not, because the sight lines are bad and like it's in a baseball stadium. So like the end zone is not a bad seat. Like that's actually a good seat because you're looking, because the field goes out in the center field. Like Mark was talking, it goes around and everything. So like you're going to be way out on the side if you go like up the first baseline or third baseline or upper deck or whatever. So like really look at the orientation of the field and recalibrate your brain from, this is where I would normally get it. I want to see to the 50-yard line, right? Cool. I want that. At Yankee Stadium, that ends up being past the first base bag, a little bit up the right field line, 20 rows up, but you're over here and the field's going this way. So like it's at the 50 technically, but it's not like the best seat in the stadium. So if you are going Falconer TRX or anybody else, look at the seating map and recalibrate your brain for what a good seat at a football game is. There's your tip from me to you for free 99. You're welcome.
I love bowl games. I'm on record of saying that many times. I also enjoy the football games in the baseball stadiums. I just think that that's kind of a novel item. It's just interesting. They have one at Fenway Park. They have one at Petco Park in San Diego.
That one's really cool.
They have one at the
metal company out there in right field or whatever.
The Chase Field, the San Diego Park. I have never been to a game there, but I have sat outside. Like it's so open, you can sit like right behind the bullpen, just outside the fence, and you can see the field and just kind of hang out there and have some lunch or something. And they do another one at Chase Field in Arizona.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do all that. I mean, I love baseball. It was my first love. It was my father's favorite sport, like father, like son. So, of course, I picked that up and everything. I love baseball, love baseball, love baseball. If you follow me on Twitter, you've seen me talking about my MLB The Show franchises that I've run before. I actually have the same Tigers franchise saved from Jeez, it was like MLB 15, and I just kept porting it over every single year and whatnot. So I love baseball. And if you're somebody who's going to this ball game, maybe lean into the baseball side of things, like go and visit Monument Park out there in center field. Go out there, where the parking lot was where old Yankee Stadium used to be. They were back to back, so you can be out there and be like, oh, this was like I'm walking over the ground of the house that Ruth built, like the 27 Yankees played here. And I know it's a parking lot now, but like they built the stadium so Monument Park could stay the same spot in center field, and it was just mirrored when they had the new stadium. So you can go and do that. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go in there, and then New York is known for being a really, really incredible city. Like I said, I have friends and enemies who live there, so that's great. And look, you can get into anything you want to get into. You want to go shopping? I mean, Falconer TRX, take the MRS up there and be like, hey, babe, your Christmas present is we're going to go to Saks Fifth Avenue, like the Saks on Fifth Avenue, the one that it's named for. You know what I mean? Been there, the home NBA store. You want to go and do that. You want to go to Rockefeller Center, go to 30 Rockefeller Center, that whole, all of that where NBC is and everything. You want to go to one of the best, I think it was named the best restaurant in the world a couple of times, 11 Madison Park. If you want to try that, good luck getting a reservation. I think they're probably already set until like after Valentine's Day. But somebody call the concierge at your hotel. They're like, hey, can you give me the EMP? Maybe you can get in there. I mean, it's an incredible thing. They had trust me, y'all see, y'all know I love food. But I mean, there's so many things you can get into, as well as the baseball, as well as the Hurricanes. Probably, hopefully, beating Rutgers, but there's no line on DraftKings, which is a little frustrating because of the rules of betting in the state of New Jersey. And since Rutgers is the State University of New Jersey, then they don't have a line. But if you look it up on other books, you can do that.
So, since we led off with National Signing Day,
yeah,
what are and should be the priorities for Mario and staff?
Loading up on as many great players as possible. I clicked the wrong link. I was looking for the Vegas Insider line. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, just loading guys up, man. I know that they're trying to flip like another OSU commit, Jordan Lyle from St. Thomas Aquinas, the 4-star running back, having just flipped Justin Scott from there. Cedric Bailey, the Chaminade quarterback from NC State. Jeremiah Smith. I mean, everybody in America is trying to get Jeremiah Smith on their team. And there's plenty of others, man. I mean, just really rounding out the board, closing strong, adding a few more I won't even say 5 stars, but blue chip players, 4-star, 5-star on both sides of the ball. And also looking towards and having that be the foundation for what we do in the transfer portal. Really still leaning in on high school recruiting. You can, but it's unsustainable to be a team of mercenaries of just every year you bring in people and I mean, I know that they're mad that they didn't make the playoff, but Florida State have a team of mercenaries, and they were so focused. They were all in on this season, 100%, right? Because their recruiting and development hasn't necessarily been great. But when you have decent recruiting and development with some guys and then augment that with some pretty darn good guys from the portal, right? You see, even though they skirted by a couple times, even against Miami, they won close, right? It'll be interesting to me to see where they go, because this was a real mercenary squad for them. Most of their star players started somewhere else, began their careers somewhere else. And you have to find that balance. And for Mario, to really change this roster, really change this culture, you really, really, really need to lean in on high school recruiting as the foundation of everything. That, and then the required development after the fact. So really having that. So, really, really putting that to the forefront of everything and circling back in key spots, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, safety. Those 4 positions I see as the ones where you really need to That's where I would be spending my money in the portal. If I were Miami, quarterback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, and safety. I think that we're good on linebacker. I think with what we got last year in the transfer portal and what we've recruited, you saw even these true freshmen, Popo Aguirre, Marcelius Pulliam had an interception in the regular season finale. I think that there are enough bodies and guys. Now, I'm not going to turn away if there's a starting level, like a real, could be all ACC team guy who wants in, right? At linebacker, come on down and we'll work on what their rotation is going to be. I'm not focused on that in the transfer portal, but that's what I would do. But yeah, really just looking. And I mean, like, as I'm going through some of these notebooks, I think that there's room for improvement at a couple scholarship slots in this class. And hopefully we find that. But also, with some of the guys, with some of these early evals and things, man, looking pretty good. But we also have to get through them signing 2 weeks from today.
Falconer coming back with this one. Rumors of Miami to the Big Ten, real or fake news? The Big Ten or the Big 12?
That was fake news. That was somebody who's like known on the timeline who like said some stuff. But he's like a known person. He's not like a journalist or connected or plugged person. But he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do, yada yada yada. My neighbor waits till this moment right now to start hammering stuff up on the wall. Word. And it's like right on the other side of this like closet right in front of me. Oh, okay, good. Okay, great. It just started like, sis, really, we're gonna do that. Anyways, it is what it is. I think that that's fake news. I think down the line, potentially possible. Mark and I have talked about that, with Miami maybe being a profile as a team and or university that fits better in the Big Ten as opposed to the SEC for future movement. And I cannot wait to leave the the ACC. Like, they just, yeah, that's not long, or Miami's not long for the ACC. So I cannot wait for that to be in the past finally. And it's not even about, and I know, if there's any rivals in here, they're going to say, because y'all have never won the conference. You've only been to the ACC championship game one time. And then. That run of mediocre performance is immaterial to my desire to leave the league. Like, those are independent variables, brother. And both true. Like, I want to leave the league because I don't like the connection, the lack of support, all those kind of things. And also at the same time, Miami has been bad, or mediocre for the last 20 years or something. So, I mean, yeah, do I want better performance? Yes, but like, the one does not inform the other.
Do you have any thoughts about the College Football Playoff Committee's decision?
I mean, that just is another line item on why we need to leave, and like Florida State should have been in. Florida State also was not the team that they were previously with Jordan Travis. So like, that's a two things can be true moment in and of itself. But like, when every other conference commissioner is on game day and they're stumping for their conference and they're doing these things publicly and they're saying, hey, Greg Sankey, Alabama, like, or whomever, like that really, yeah, like you need to, the SEC, the quality of teams, blah, 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 blah. And Jim Phillips is nowhere to be found. And I mean, again, I do not like them, but I will respect the brand and the team and the University of Florida State. But you have a brand, a national brand. I mean, one of the biggest national brands. I mean, Miami is as well, but you have a brand name team that, again, transcends poor performances in the past. This is a team that's missed bowl games, right? Same as Miami has, but like, Florida State is not Bobby Bowden, 13 years in a row, top 5 Florida State. But those of us who are like, in media consuming age, those of us in our 40s or older, in 30s, like Florida State, the name means something, bro. You know what I mean? And so you could easily be like, hey, screw what y'all talking about. This is Florida State University. Y'all can all sing that war chant. Y'all all know when you hear that whistle, the band is getting up, and you had that one drum major, and those drums start building, and everything. You know the garnet and gold. You know the spear. You know Traveler, the horse. You know all of that. And so that team, this brand, has walked through the ACC conference undefeated and champion. And you're telling me you're going to leave them out? But he's nowhere to be found while other teams or other, leaders are leading in that way. And then they get snubbed. Now, again, I believe two things are true. They went through, they won every game in front of them. They did what all teams desire to do. Win each game, go 1-0 each week all the way through in the season. The regular season was 0 L's. The team that we saw the last 2 weeks after Jordan Travis unfortunately broke his leg is not the same team. Yet and still, you cannot sit idly by and just be like, well, as conference commissioner, if they get in or not, who cares? Did you see? I saw this from Tim Reynolds. Do you know there's so much ill will and sour grapes from both coaches that the Orange Bowl canceled tomorrow's coaches' press conference? Because Kirby Smart, they haven't lost since forever, right? So he's mad that they're there with 1 L. Mike Norvell, I mean, I couldn't imagine how angry and y'all have heard me go off on things. Trust and believe. I would have been sending a fine to whoever the NCAA, ACC, they would have fined your boy. It would have, yeah. I would have gotten fined $75,000, $100,000 easy and taken it and paid it, right? If I was rich and I was a coach and all those things. But there's a screenshot of them so sour-faced on the bowl announcement, Zoom, and everything. They went back. And like I said, reported from Tim Reynolds, Associated Press, they're not even having the coach's presser tomorrow, bro. Like, yeah. So, I mean, do I think that the committee got it right? No, I really don't. I don't, but I understand it at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a really unfortunate thing. It really was heartbreaking also to see Jordan Travis tweet like, hey, maybe if I would have broken my leg in September and my team, my brothers, everything would have da-da-da-da. Yeah, it's really tough. But, I've said it on here before, and I'm going to say it again, and it is not emotional. It is very clinical and cold. Bowl games are television shows. They're not football games. None of them. Not the college football playoff, not the exhibition, not the Pinstripe Bowl. Those are not football games, guys. Those are television shows. And those 13 guys on the college football playoff committee said, what are the best television shows that we can try to schedule? Being prodded by ESPN, who will now take over the SEC contract moving forward. And without Jim Phillips to try to play defense at all, because he sat silently until after the announcement was made, and then he wants to come out with all the Florida State people, the chancellor, the AD, the coach, the players. They knew they had a feeling it was coming, so they were ready with those statements and everything. But Jim Phillips was like, he's the one person who maybe kind of sort of could have had an impact on that, but he didn't do anything or say anything, right? Trying not to lose his little piece of the ESPN pie, the little sliver of the ESPN pie, as though it is. And then you get three really good television shows. Michigan, Alabama, Texas, Washington, and then the winners of those and all of the hoopla about that coming together. Look, Michigan, hey, grew up in my photo of the big house is not right here, but I remember going to games in the 1997 championship season. I remember being there and seeing Charles Woodson jump 15 feet in the air to make that interception one-handed and toe tap on the sideline at Breslin Stadium in East Lansing, right? I remember all that. And the victors and best, the all-time winningest program, they make it to the championship game, or they lose and it's Bama and everything around that. And I mean, look, there's other stuff around Michigan. I haven't even talked about the sciences. I haven't talked about Harbaugh coming back to his alma mater. All of those storylines. Washington, one of the great teams in the 90s and everything, meeting back. Don't let that happen. The old Rose Bowl matchup, Michigan against Wisconsin, that's happened multiple myriad times. Great. At Texas? You let Texas in? There's so many storylines. There's such great television that can happen. And those are all those. And I just touched on a couple things in a vacuum for all of those. Now you have this game, and then the resultant game. They did some really great scheduling for television, and it came at the expense of an undefeated Florida State team. And that really, it's exciting for the football, from the shows that we're going to get, but it really, really, really sucks for Florida State. I'm not going to lie.
I don't believe that Florida State's one of the 4 best teams in the country, and certainly without Jordan Travis, not one of the 4 best teams in the country. But I don't believe that what I think, or what a collection of people think, or what they would project to believe to happen on a football field should be part of the equation. I think it should be an objective look at the metrics of wins and losses and conference championships, and they got robbed.
I agree. It's like, yeah, you can't assume things. And look, Louisville had a really good offense, and Florida State's defense held them under 200 yards. Like, you can make an argument that, like, even without either of their top 2 quarterbacks, because their third-string true freshman started the ACC championship game, that the defense stepped it up to levels unseen, and that should be the feather in their cap and should, have them going forward, come hell or high water. But once bitten, twice shy with last year in TCU, because TCU, they won all their games. They squeaked by in a couple, but then they got the blowout of all blowouts where, everybody's just on. I was on the phone with my boy Fred and other people in the second half, just like, whatever, like, okay, yeah, I'm, not paying attention, but we're making fun of them because Georgia did something else that's incredible and record breaking. And then it's just like, they're not going to come out and say it, but the community had to be scared of a bad television product, because the national championship game last year, unless you were a Georgia Bulldog, was atrocious. It was, even if it wasn't a good watch for them, it was over after the first quarter. You know what I mean? Like, that was a bad game for the last game of the season in a showcase spot. And I really think that they were once bitten by that, twice shy by the potential for Florida State with whichever mediocre, clear levels down player at the quarterback position, but with Jordan Travis with a broken leg, what that performance could have looked like, because they didn't want to have another dull show in their series of shows. So they did what they could to schedule the best series of shows, dressed up as football games, but that's what they did. And hey, yeah.
I'm going to give you 3 lines of logic here, and you started down one of these paths. If they are simply taking their mission, their purpose as, we are selecting the 4 best teams. Yes, we have this criteria, but when push comes to shove, we can surpass and jump past all this criteria to simply say, you know what? This team's better than that team, even though the wins and losses and a few other metrics point to this team. We have been put in this place, in this position, to just flat out, if push comes to shove, we can use the excuse that, or the reason that, we are just selecting the 4 best teams in the country. That's what we are charged to do. Okay. To your point, anyone who's got a brain that watches college football knows that TCU is not one of the 4 best teams in the country. I believed at the time, and I'm on record as saying they should be selected to the college football playoff because of their record, their accomplishments, getting to the conference championship game, It falls in line that they are one of the 4 that should be rewarded, that have earned that spot, but they are not one of the 4 best teams in the country. Cincinnati, anyone who thinks that they were one of the 4 best teams in the country in 2021, they were not one of the 4 best teams in the country with a 100 ranked schedule. Beating Notre Dame and then playing a bunch of Navies and Tulanes the rest of the season, that is not, again, it just fell into a spot where, okay, this is the year to make that move. The group of 5 situations right there with an undefeated and nobody that's really, but they weren't better than pick your teams.
Yeah.
Ohio State, et cetera, other teams that were like just behind them. Okay. Perfect example right here. And this involves a blue blood. 2019, that was the LSU, Clemson, Ohio State are undefeated. Boom, they're in. Okay, who's the 4th team? Well, Oklahoma's got a loss, but they're a conference champion. They're the only 1-loss conference champion. So they earned it. They were, again, the logical selection to be that 4th team. However, I say right here, when the even before and after the decision was made, Mark, is Oklahoma the 4th best team, or who should be selected? Who is the 4th best team? My statement was Oklahoma needs to be selected. They're a conference champion. They only have 1 loss. Who's the 4th best team, or one of the 4? Alabama. They should be selected. If you are just saying, you know what, we don't care. We don't care what the records are, the championships, we're selecting the 4 best. Because Alabama had taken Joe Burrow and LSU to a 5-point game. Great 46-41 game in Tuscaloosa. And their other loss was a clank off the upright to lose to Auburn 48-45. And they would have played another remarkable game, I'm sure, because of the talent against LSU versus Oklahoma, giving up 7 touchdowns by halftime.
Yeah.
But they earned it. So that precedent had already been set numerous times. And I could go to a couple other cases that we don't select necessarily the football person's selection of, okay, this team's loaded with talent. We know they tripped up twice. No, we go in order of the criteria. But they didn't do that this time. Okay, other path of logic here, at least I believe so. The number 4 team in the country, Florida State, going into the weekend, defeats the number 14 team in the country based on their rankings, the College Football Playoff Committee's rankings, by 10 points. I'm not going to argue that it was the complete victory that Texas had over Oklahoma State, but 4 beats 14 by double digits.
Mm-hmm.
That is cause for a 3-spot jump to catch 4 and surpass 4 by Texas, who was 7 and beat 18 when 4 beat 14. That doesn't add up.
But the thing is, they've said that there is no precedence. Last week's, logic or rankings or whatever, like it is. And I don't watch those things. I mean, like if Miami were in the rankings, like whatever, I would blog about them. Like I don't. Like I really detest those things because it's just talking to talk. Because the only ones that matter are the last ones, and they say there is no continuity, there is no precedence. So what you're saying is, well, I mean, yeah, but because we had them 18 or whatever, but like what we think now is Oklahoma State was actually 10 and whatever, and Texas because of, like it's moving goalposts and changing viewpoints always. They've said that's what it is, and you're going to get what we get because again, in the end, what we want are the best television shows. I know that that's going to hurt everybody's brain and everybody's camera. Yes, it is. They want to put the best television shows forward. So whatever machinations they have to do to get there, they'll do, which is why they say nothing. It's whose line is it anywhere? Or whose line is it anyway? Everything's made up and the points don't matter. And we just do, sure, here we go. Cool. There we go. Great. Bye. Like that's literally what it is, man.
Next point in my logic would be they purport these rankings to be team number 1 is the team that they believe is the best and also has the best resume. Number 2 is they got the second best resume in combination with who they believe is the second best, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. We had a situation where going into the weekend, we had 8 teams that were strong, that seemed to have separated from everybody else. So all those playoff teams, plus Florida State, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, they were all 1-loss teams or 0-loss teams that were kind of separate from everyone else. And then there was a drop-off. Okay, going into the weekend. Okay, if Florida State is in the quotations of the committee, definitely a no. I'm trying to use the terminology that they use. A decidedly different team or
substantially or materially
substantially different team without Jordan Travis, then rank them, despite the record, rank them what you believe them to be. Is that 13th? Is that 17th? Is that, but they're substantially different and they're number 5 instead of number 4, but they're a substantially different team. That's not a substantially different team when the top 8 in the country are pretty close.
Again, they just talk about the side of their neck, man. And then they're talking about, okay, well, Liberty bumped Tulane.
Oh, that's another thing that drives me crazy.
Out of SMU, excuse me. They bumped SMU out of a New Year's 6. And then they said, okay, well, Boo Corrigan, NC State athletic director, head of the committee. Why did that happen? Well, see, what they did is they kept winning and they won all their games. And what that does is it pushes them forward. But wait, what? Like I'm saying, like literally, they make it up as they go along. It is whose line is it anyway? Everything's made up. The points don't matter. They do what they want to do because they want to do it. And then they just say, and that's how it is. Great. I mean, it's like, you know, the statement, and really, I'm a why person. I've always been like, literally my whole family had to like put structures in place when I was a kid to get me to stop asking why. I want to know why. The inner workings, the whatever what we can't have McDonald's. Why? I want to know the whole picture. Well, we don't have McDonald's money. How don't you have McDonald's money? Because we don't have money. So I need to know about budgeting. I need to know about all these things. And my whole family would be like, yeah, no, you're not going to get the why. And they would always, and eventually you would ask why. I had to remember my point. Or eventually I would ask why. And then, you know, my parents or whomever, elders, be like, the answer is because I said so. And this is what we get from the college football playoff. Like, you're not going to get the chapter and verse. You're not going to get the rundown of it. Why is that? Well, why is Liberty bumped up and for winning all their games and being undefeated, but Florida State, because I said so. But that doesn't give me the, you know, how did you arrive to, because I said so. Take it or leave it. That's what it is.
You're reminding me of when I was at ESPN because I was in an operations department. I was on management team, network operations. So everyone had a nuts and bolts execution mindset. I didn't though. So our 12-team management, we would get, you know, we hit our management meeting and it was like, okay, got the NFL draft coming up this weekend and we have to do this, and programming says we got to do this and production says we got to do this, and everybody, and I was always like, why are they doing that? They should do this. And that's how I always work too, which was completely unproductive. I admitted because I wasn't going to change anything.
Right.
Yes. To your point, this drives me crazy with these group of 5 teams that get ranked. It's like there's all of a sudden, like if you look at Liberty's schedule, it's atrocious. It's so bad. It was the worst schedule in the country entering the weekend. And then because they played New Mexico State, it jumped up like 5 spots to 128. Right. But there's like this magic threshold that all of a sudden the AP voters and everybody else decides, oh, they were 6-0, 7-0. Okay, 8-0. Just throw them in the top 25. And you're like, they beat the 4th worst team in the country by 2 touchdowns. What did they do this past weekend that magically made them a top 25 team?
Yeah, terrible, but that's how it is.
All right, back to the Canes, because I could go on with this.
And ditto. And I appreciate you guys listening to that. Hopefully that was illuminating because, it's a good conversation. But we got stuff. Let's go talk about the Canes.
We do.
I know I'm not wearing all my Cane stuff today, but it's a little chilly. Florida cool. It's 62 degrees down here. So wearing my good old former Miramar High School Teacher of the Year jacket. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to flex. I'm going to leave that on. Yeah. Even though it's a
good look.
Cool flex, bro. From years and years ago. But geez, that was almost a decade ago. That was 9 years ago I won that. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Falconer TRX, appreciate you being here. FSU screwed. Mike Leach was right about the committee, which is going to lead me to my last point. That's only going to take about 15 seconds. And when people say there is no objective criteria, I disagree with that. They have objective criteria. They just have this bag back here, and they just kind of pull out whichever one they need for that team or that situation to say, that's our objective criteria for that situation, but we're going to ignore it over here. We're going to use that objective criteria.
Again, like we talked about with Liberty and FSU, the same talking point, both sides of that coin, was a demerit for one and promotion for the other. But anyways.
Mohammed, thank you so much for the contribution. I can make the argument that both games will still be blowouts. So what good did it really do? I have Bama and Texas winning in blowouts.
I don't necessarily agree. I think it's possible.
Yeah, sure.
But you have teams more at full strength, and again, you have other huge brands: Michigan versus Alabama, Washington versus Texas. Like, they're, in terms of putting forward television shows, I think that they kind of did a really good job, even at the expense, of another top tier brand. They really did. And maybe you are right. Maybe those do end in blowouts. I don't think that they will. I think there's a path for all four of these teams to win by 2 or more touchdowns. But I think the fact that is a conversation and a point where it's like, well, you see that, but I can see something different. And I think that kind of healthy tension is what they were looking for.
Yeah. Mohammed, thank you again. As a Miami fan, I still think FSU got robbed, and it's disrespectful to the conference. It's setting the framework for favoring 2 conferences.
Yeah, man. It is, and I haven't looked into it, but somebody proposed something of like a top tier Division I group that can pay players and things directly through promotions and NIL stuff or whatever. I haven't looked at it. I know that Miami athletic director Dan Radakovich was asked about it by Adam Lichtenstein of the Sun Sentinel, and he had positive initial thoughts on that. But that could be a solution or a change in the future as well. So we'll see. But yeah, it was a really bad look for balancing the sport, right? Or parity, right, across the sport. It was a really bad look because now the ACC is not even a Power 5. You know what I mean? Like, it just, if you have these things in there and in the contract, you're just like, yeah, cool, nah. And again, the ACC commissioner at present let that happen. Yikes a million. Yeah.
The ACC showed to me its lack of self-respect in 2 phases concerning its relationship with Notre Dame. One was that it actually took on the school as a partner in, I believe, 14 sports, but not football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the SEC doing that. I don't see the Big Ten. I can't imagine that they would say, yeah, we're good with you not playing football in our conference, but you can use us in all these other sports. I just don't see those conferences doing that. And then when 2020 hit and Notre Dame when every conference internalized its schedule because of the COVID situation, the ACC throws Notre Dame a lifeboat just for no reason. Of course, there's a relationship there. They throw them a lifeboat and say, yeah, you can play in our league for a year. And shoot, Notre Dame, I actually, just because of the absurdity of the situation, was rooting for Notre Dame to win the ACC championship game that year, because I thought this is going to be justice. If they win this and then see ya, we jumped in your league for 1 year, abused you, and now we're leaving again. again, I don't think especially the two conferences at the top of the chain would stoop to that. So
yeah.
All right, and let's see. Falcon Rex also had this one, which I don't necessarily get, but we'll play along here. Mark, should the Canes play at Marlins Park or Old Orange Bowl?
No, remember, Marlins Park is built on the site where the Orange Bowl once
okay.
stood. So should they play there? Maybe going back to our conversation about the bowl game earlier. We played there once. Thanks to drunk Jaron Williams, we also now have one loss against FIU. So allegedly, to the behavior, not to the loss. That loss was actually tangible, and we all saw that happen. I mean, I don't love it, but I went to a Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee or something bowl game there one time. Yeah, like randomly, like with my teacher buddies, we were like, you know what? Let's go out. We were down in Little Havana. And we're like, let's go over by the stadium. And like, yeah, just bought tickets like day up, like literally in the middle of the second quarter. It was kind of fun. But yeah.
Falconer, big money, options, good for players, bad for the sport.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made there. But hopefully, you know, if Miami is using big money options, maybe in the transfer portal and NIL, you know, maybe we are giving my namesake Cam Ward, you know, what he's looking for. I know that some coach said that you know, a top tier quarterback, the going rate is, you know, $1.5 or $2 million. I mean, for what that could do for this team. Like, again, remember at the beginning where I said in the transfer portal, that's where I would be spending my money and allocating my resources. Yeah. I was over on Twitter for a second. I saw Cam Ward is not listed or not put forth where he is going to take official visits as he looks to transfer, but Miami is among the list of teams that is pushing or in communication trying to get him to visit. So that would be, yeah, I would enjoy that. Go look up the film. It is not a case where it's just like, Cam, you're saying this because his name is Cam and your name is Cam. And no, that's a fun little joke thing that, I mean, like, I will say, like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, yeah, you know, whatever. Go look at the film from Incarnate Word and from Wazoo. Kid can play. Or guy.
So if you compiled with an unprecedented list of quarterbacks, we're talking about quarterbacks from, yes, Washington State, Oregon State, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Kansas State, all these starting quarterbacks are in the portal. Do you have a wish list, priority list?
Cam Ward, Dante Moore, former 5-star Martin Luther King High School, Detroit, Michigan, who whatever, it's a year past, but Dante Moore tried to commit to Miami, and a former staffer at Miami who no longer works at Miami, but works somewhere else where they had worked before and went back to work again. Put all that together if you want to. But that staffer was the one who squashed that commitment when he was down for a camp visit, which was his third camp visit. Tried to say, hey, yeah, I want to go in the office. I want to commit to the coaches. And this one particular coach is the reason that did not happen, which sucks. But hey, he's in the portal. So I would say, yeah, Cam Moore, Dante Moore. At the top of the list, there's probably a couple others. Buddy from K-State is pretty good. But yeah, I think I would say like those three being the top. I think you can do, like, he's a really good college quarterback. I don't know that I want him. And that's Dylan Gabriel. Like, I know people were like, yeah, there's that. And then everybody wants to get, so many people hopped in my mentions when I did put up a list of quarterback potential additions from the portal, just like listing them. So many people are on Grayson McCall. And while I like and respect him as a player, I don't necessarily know that he's what I'm looking for. I had to think about that one a little bit more.
Yeah. I tend to not think that's the direction either. But Dylan Gabriel, that would be a fairly substantial upgrade.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he's a above average college player, but I think that he does still have limitations, especially in terms of arm strength. He's incredibly accurate. He is mobile and athletic. He has a knack for finding ways to make big plays and manufacture some things. Like, there are positives, but there are also just a couple of things that, like, they rear themselves in negative ways in big moments for me that are really just a little unsettling for me personally. I think I would be okay if that were the move, but he's not like Cam Ward, where I'm like, yeah. And this is gonna come because, like, he's not gonna play there anymore. I want to be first in line when Malik Murphy from Texas goes in the portal, because Quinn Ewers is coming back. Arch Manning his last name is Manning, and he's already, through his camp, come out and said that he's not leaving Texas. Brother, that means you ain't playing here. Like, sorry. We got the kid from South Lake Carroll, and then we got, the second coming of Christ the Redeemer, so say they, the next Manning. Ain't no room for you here. But you know where there is room for you, Malik, with 2 A's from Southern California, who I wanted Miami to recruit from high school anyway. Coral Gables, come on down.
KJ Jefferson, Arkansas?
Not a fan. Turns the ball over in key moments in big moments in big games, man. Like, he does a lot, but I also don't think that we're going to run quarterback power with him, as a called play 10 or 12 times a game. I think that he's another good college quarterback. I will enjoy watching him on the second screen wearing a different jersey, like I have for the last couple of years. That is not one that I think would be a fit.
Miami Live, folks, every Wednesday, 7 Eastern time. Appreciate you being here. Cam with State of the U, of course, each and every day. Make it on back here next Wednesday for what we do to provide you with Miami football content and bring some friends with you. Cam, what's going on at State of the U?
Covering basketball, DeTavio did put up his self-scout from this season. We're obviously going to have some bowl game content. I believe my guy Kappa Kane is thinking about making the trek like Falconer TRX up to NYC for the bowl game. So hopefully we'll have some beautiful action shots and coverage from that as well. Like I said, I'm in the weeds with signing day and anything else in Craig T. Smith with his Monday musings every week. The 7th is tomorrow. Ooh, there's a new piece from DeTavio that'll hit the timeline or the site at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And also he did a deep dive on where in the world did the Miami tight end position go this season, which was a nice little deep dive. So be sure you go check that out and more. Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. Website is open 24/7, 365, stateoftheu.com. Please come over and fan with us. And as it says on the screen, if interested in my ramblings and random shenanigans on the timeline, at Underwood Sports on Twitter is where the fun can be had. And also I saw somebody from the chat, I just said it the other day to a buddy of mine, Kylo Ren, Miami Kane. He was hopping into some conversations and whatnot with me on Twitter the other day. So I saw that, buddy. I wanted to shout you out, and everything. So, yeah, I'm a real person. I exist outside of this show. So come on over and fan with us in any and all of those locations. It's always a pleasure. We'll have even more recruiting talk next week as we move towards National Signing Day and hopefully Miami with the top 5 class.
Cam, 356 shows. Thank you for everything.
That's crazy. But hey, my pleasure. Great to be here with you guys. We'll see you soon.